So we're going to call the meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's June 16, 2021 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body, this meeting of the Great Barrington Select Board and the Finance Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website, townofgb.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner. See the instructions on the top of the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. And then pursuant to Massachusetts General Law 7C 30A Section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body or may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listings of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Mark, can you indicate who is recording the meeting?
I don't see CTSB on the line. I would assume Terry Cowgill is recording, Heather Bello, David Scribner. Anyone else that I'm missing?
Mark, I'm recording. This is Michelle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so just in general, in terms of the order of the evening, after the public hearing, the Select Board and the Finance Committee will discuss the budget again after the public hearing, vote on the budget, and also on the warrant articles. And all of this is obviously to be voted upon at town meeting on Monday, June 6th. Okay. As the chair of the Finance Committee, I will now accept a motion to open the public hearing on the fiscal year 2023 proposed budget. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that we open the public hearing on the upcoming fiscal budget.
I'll second
second?
that, Suzanne.
Okay,
second
roll call
that.
vote. Anne,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Meredith,
Aye.
and I, the chair, vote yes as well. So the public hearing on the fiscal year 2023 budget is now open. I'm just going to read briefly that the state of this meeting is obviously to comply with Great Barrington Town Bylaw Article 2, Section 7.4, that requires that the Finance Committee hold a hearing on its expenditures. I think it would be helpful. I'll read that line briefly. Before any town meeting, the warrant for which calls for the expenditures of the money or the disposal of any town property, the Finance Committee shall hold at least one public hearing at which all persons interested may be heard on any article contained in the warrant. And this committee shall make due report thereon at the town meeting. Okay, so we're now at the point where we're open to listen to town comment. And we'll see who's out there who'd like to comment. I'll defer to Mark if you see residents who would like to comment.
Sure. At this time, there are no hands raised.
There are no hands raised. We give that another few seconds.
Chair, if I may, this is Michelle. I ran into an instance where the public hearing, it happened to be with the school committee, the meeting opened and I was trying to sign on. And it was like the public hearing opened and closed very quickly. If we could just give people a few minutes, longer than a few seconds to sign on and make any comments. That's what I'm requesting.
Absolutely, I agree.
Okay, because some people do have tech difficulties.
I'm one of them. So,
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a while for our system, especially if you live in an area with low service such as Housatonic. It sometimes takes a while to sign on and get your system booted. And sometimes your system freezes altogether, right, Steve? Last night, my system froze altogether. And
Many times.
I do apologize for that.
No problem.
But thank you for giving ample time. On this.
Well, while we give some time, if anyone were to want to speak, we ask that each speaker state their name and address. And we ask that each speaker limit their comments to 3 minutes on their subject.
Still no hands up at the moment, although there are 20 attendees and 13 panelists for a total of 33 participants.
Phil, I will defer to your judgment on when you think is the appropriate time to conclude this.
well, maybe we give them till 6:10 and then,
I agree, Tom.
okay.
Is it possible to leave the hearing open while we move on to other items?
No, we do have to, we have to close the hearing.
Yes.
But
But
we'll
I
still
think-
take public comment. It doesn't mean we won't take public comment.
Mhm.
So, Phil, if you just let me, I just want to say thank you to Tom and Meredith for serving on the Finance Committee. They have chosen not to run. They've been excellent Finance Committee members, and they will both be missed. Tom, we go way back, and you've always done a great job. Meredith, we really enjoyed having you on, and I wish you both good luck and ask you both to reconsider, actually, but
If no one else takes out papers, I'm writing them both in.
there you go.
Well, thank you very much. The thanks and appreciation is all from this seat.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
I'm glad.
There's still the March meeting to come to.
I realize that, but I wanted the biggest audience I could find.
Oh, okay.
So we're leaving the Tom Brady window open for Tom and Meredith.
Yes, that's right.
That's it.
So it's been,
Tom, how long have you been on the committee?
anybody, 15 years, and so, yeah, it's been fun, for sure, most of the time. And I really enjoyed the CPA being on that committee too. That's been very, very rewarding. So Phil, that'll be one of your first duties when you reorganize. They'll need a new member.
It's on the docket for discussion. I agree.
Man. Well, I see
You'll
it's-
never be replaced.
Oh, stop it. But keep it coming, yeah. I see it's 6:10, so I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
But before we do the roll call vote, I would say that I think it's apparent to us that all those who wish to speak on the budget have been given an opportunity, and we're ready to close the public hearing. Roll call vote. Ann,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Meredith,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
and I yes as well.
The chair votes
So
aye.
the public hearing is closed.
Yeah.
Would you like me to take it from here?
Please,
Mr. Chairman?
please.
Thank you. So we are now at the part of the joint meeting. So I will ask for a roll call vote of the select board. Garfield,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
where are you? Lee. And I, the select board is all here. Phil, you may want to do the same just for the sake of doing it.
Roll call vote for the finance committee. Ann,
Here.
I'm sorry, yeah, roll call. Tom,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Meredith,
Aye.
and I'm here as well.
Okay, I'm going to move the agenda around just a wee bit. I'm going to start off with the FY23 Berkshire Hills Regional School District School Assessment. And I'm going to promote to panelist Sharon Harrison, who's the business administrator. And she will give a very short overview, and then we'll take questions, and then we'll make a recommendation to the town meeting on that. Sharon? Hello.
Yeah,
Hello. Thank you, Steve, and thanks for the invitation. I just have a short overview, and please, you can ask questions as we go along or wait until the end. I would like to just go over quickly our operating budget, capital budget, and the impact on assessments for the towns for our FY23 budget that the school committee approved last month in March. So our new FY23 budget is $31,695,977. That's our gross budget. That's an increase of $1,411,517, or 4.66%. After we calculate our gross budget, we reduce that amount by the choice in revenue we receive and the tuition in revenue we receive. That will give us a net operating budget of $670,977, or a difference of $1,366,517 for net operating budget alone of 4.83%. Then we will have the capital budget. And our capital budget this year includes the 14th of 15 payments on the updated borrowing for the elementary and middle school. So that's exciting. We just have one more after this, as well as some more work at the high school. There are a number of items at the high school that still need to be updated, or items that we're going to purchase that, should we get into a high school project, we can take, like cafeteria tables, those kinds of items. We also put in this year additional capital repairs and purchases. We have a schedule to replace our fixed assets, our trucks, our SCAGs, as well as updating the heating system at both the elementary and middle school. The system that we use for monitoring it is no longer supported, so we're going to be updating both buildings. And there's some other small capital repair work to do, and that way that will keep those buildings up to date. We call them our new schools, but they're 16 years old, so we want to make sure that we're putting the money into those schools. The total on that for the net is 91,125. That's an increase of 34,875 or 6.89. However, what we did, and I will talk about it combined as well, with our net assessment to the member towns for just the capital, the change in there actually is a decrease of 16,125. Most of that is a decrease based on the borrowing, because both capital repairs and the extraordinary maintenance at the high school we're going to cover with E&D, so that won't impact your assessment. Speaking of excess and deficiency, in FY23, we're going to use about 61% of our existing E&D. That's 61% after we returned the amount from the FY21 certified E&D. We returned over 600,000 to the towns, a little over 400,000 to Great Barrington. In FY23, we're going to use 617,000 for our operating, 311,000 for the additional capital work we're looking at. That will result in a net assessment to Great Barrington of $18,496,633, or an increase of from last year of $514,235, or 2.79%. So the increase to Great Barrington is 2.79%. The increase to Stockbridge in FY23 will be 13.72%, or 433,318, and to West Stockbridge 3.49%, or 110,270. I'd like to take just a minute to remind people the three pieces that go into the assessment, and that is the net assessment, the combination of capital and operating after we reduce by our tuition in Chapter 70, Chapter 71, which is our transportation reimbursement, use of E&D, and smaller amounts for our Medicaid reimbursement, interest, and miscellaneous income. The other thing that goes into it is a change in the population allocation of our resident students. And Great Barrington's decreased slightly to 73.4884% from 74.57% in FY22. Stockbridge increased from 12.71 to 13.72, and West Stockbridge was relatively the same at 12.71 to 12.79% of the population. So right there, you see that Stockbridge went up 1% in the population allocation. Then the minimum local contribution, that's the minimum amount that the state says each community needs to put in for education. Certainly can go over, and we're very fortunate at Berkshire Hills that our communities support us so well. Those changed as well. In Great Barrington, excuse me, from FY22 at 7.3 million to FY23 of 7.696. Stockbridge went from 1,260,218 to 1,491,020, and West Stockbridge went from 1,260,218 to 1,310,375. So those three, the net assessment, the minimum local contribution, and the percentage of the enrollment are what lead down to the assessment that we talked about. So the total assessment was 4.27. And as I said, Great Barrington's increase was 2.79%, Stockbridge 13.72, and West Stockbridge 3.49. And that's what I have for my brief overview. Questions on that?
Any questions, comments? Yeah, Tom Blauvelt, go right ahead.
Hi, Sharon. Did you say that you were using about 61% of your E&D?
Yes.
Is that within how's it compared to prior years? Is that something, is it within like reasonable expectations? Is it?
Yes, the average over the past 15 years, there were some where we didn't use any, some we used up to 70%. The average is about 52%. So the 61 is just slightly higher.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Just a clarification on the numbers. The net school assessment that I'm looking at in our budget materials is 18,946,633. I think you may have mentioned a different number. So either I misheard you or you may have.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Phil?
Well, again, in our materials, the school assessment to Great Barrington for fiscal 23 is 18,946,633.
That is correct. I apologize. I was updating from what we used 2 weeks ago. And the 18,946,633 is correct. And that is after we put in the extra E&D.
Okay. So
It was a transposition in my chart.
yeah, no, that
496 instead of 946.
No, I've been there. So is and the 19, I'm looking probably at an older presentation. There's a net assessment to Great Barrington of 19,093,000. That was in the PowerPoint from a couple of weeks ago.
Right, and that PowerPoint was developed as the presentation to the school committee. And then the next week, the school committee discussed the presentation, and there were some amendments to it. There were some additions, and then the additional use of E&D.
Okay, understood.
Ann, go right ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to note that the new assessment is in the packet that was sent around. So it is in there with the new amount.
Yep.
Anyone else?
If I may, Chair.
Of course.
And this may be just, I know everyone's looking at the bigger picture, but listening to the budget meetings, 2 things really stood out for me. The first one was the 4% increase to administrators' salaries. And I was just wondering, I believe during a meeting it was stated the work that had been done during the period of COVID, which I certainly understand, but I would just like to know what increases Unit A, Unit C, which would be clerical and paras, and custodial would be looking at in FY23.
Michelle, oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. My second question has to do with the position of communications. I think school committee member Rich Mahoney brought forward another position, which was, I believe, a communications assistant for, I think it was 50,000.
That's correct.
Right, but it was almost 11th hour. And if I understand correctly, there isn't any background information on it, such as a job description. And I just want to point out, like during the town side discussions, the position of HR came up. I repeatedly grilled our town manager, may I have a job description? When it came to salary increases, we wanted to look at salary surveys, etc. So I'm not comfortable with that position, and I just want to know where it is in our budget right now. And like I said, I just want to know what other employees in Berkshire Hills Regional School District can realize as far as the salary increase, knowing that the teachers, paras and clerical and custodial are bound by their unit contracts.
Yeah,
But-
that's a good point, Michelle. Before Sharon answers, I'll just answer two things. We're in the third year, I believe, of our contract with the unions. So that will be up for negotiation after this coming year. And the other is the communications job description. And unfortunately, I wasn't at the meeting, but there will be a job description brought forth to the school committee at our next meeting.
Okay, but for the budget at the moment, there's nothing for,
Oh, no, because there hasn't been a meeting since the public hearing and the vote.
but
So-
is that position included in the budget right now?
Yes, it is. It was voted
Okay.
by the school committee. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Sharon, do you want to talk about the increases for the unions?
Yes, first I do want to point out, Michelle, that the percentage increase that people see for the administrators is actually what occurred between FY '21 and FY '22. The salaries that you see for administrators are actual salaries for FY '22. The administrators typically don't get notified of their increase until after the budget has been approved, and it's usually very late in the spring. So that's the difference between FY '21 and '22, not what administrators will be getting going into '23. The question did come out at our last meeting on what the increases were for the teachers for FY '22, and that is 3.96%. I'd have to go back to calculate for FY '23, and I don't have at the top of my head the increase for paras right now.
Now, is clerical included in the para contract?
The secretaries are included in the para contract. Yes, that's Unit C.
C, yeah, and custodial.
Custodial is in the cooperative contract, and I'd have to pull that out as well. We can get that information.
Okay, thank you, Sharon.
Welcome.
Thanks, Michelle. Anyone else? So we would vote. I think it's easier if we vote on these as we talk about them. So the finance committee is making their recommendation to the town meeting. And then the select board will also make a recommendation, but it's really the finance committee's budget, as we know. So I think we started with a motion from the finance committee last time first.
Are we voting on the school budget right now?
Correct, Michelle.
And and I don't know which chair to speak to.
You could speak to both of us.
Because I would like to make a motion to consider the Berkshire Hills Regional School District budget minus the position of communication, the position that's proposed for communications.
Unfortunately, Michelle, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, I think the way this works is it's an up or down vote.
Okay, all right.
Which, if you feel strongly enough, obviously, you can vote it down.
Or abstain.
Or abstain, yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Oh, I mean, it's my understanding as well. Can there be an explicit provision that the vote was taken with an expectation that the information that Michelle described would be provided in a certain time frame, or is that not appropriate?
I think the best you could do, or you could do anything you'd like, but I think the March 10th meeting, I'm planning to see a job description. So if that helps.
If I may, I think what I can also do is vote as I feel right now. And
Yes.
then when I see the information at annual town meeting, like any other citizen, a vote at that time. Because like I said, overall, I'm satisfied with the budget, other than those 2 points that I just brought up. And that's due to lack of information at this point.
Right.
Actually, one other point of clarification, Steve, is it based on prior discussions and relating to a potential project relating to the high school, my understanding is that it's quite possible that the school district will be approaching the member, its member towns with a proposal for some type of either rehabilitation or complete rebuild of the high school. And that may come, obviously, the date is probably out of your control, but that may come in the next few months. Is that about right?
What will be coming, I hope, and Sharon can correct me if I'm wrong, is a request from the 3 towns to fund design on the new project. So instead of having a special town meeting, or instead of waiting another year, and that will go through, the finance committees and select boards will be given all the updated information as soon as we have it. And that'll be probably in the next, Sharon, would you say next 30 days? Because
Yes.
the warrants have to be done.
Yes, yes.
So the funds for that design program, would they be part of our 23 budget or some other, some future budget?
No, they would be part of the 23 as a separate warrant article, as I understand it. Mark, is that how you understand it?
Yeah, I think at this point it would have to be a special article, but
Yeah.
that would mean the finance committee and select board would have to vote on that again, so we'd have a recommendation in time for the warrant.
Exactly. So it's got to be done fairly quickly.
So do we have any idea of the order of magnitude of that request?
May I?
Yes, of course.
Please.
I believe, and the school committee actually obviously has not voted on this, and we haven't heard from the MSBA. I believe that the intent would be that the school committee would request the ability to borrow short-term at the amount needed for the feasibility and schematic design, because the MSBA, the district having been in this project before, will not cover it. So the district would need to cover it all. So the approval, I believe we would be looking for is approval for borrowing. And that would have to happen. If you get into it, it's something like within 90 days, you have to have that set up. So my belief would be what would be in your budget would be the payment, the interest payment, because it would be under short-term borrowing, and the district could then do another short-term borrowing depending on what happens with the project. So it wouldn't be the entire amount.
Okay, well, that certainly makes much more sense. My concern was that the school district would be asking us to provide funds out of our budget for the redesign. We may not have that money sitting around.
No, this would be borrowing for sure.
Okay, all right, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Other questions?
So I can just ask for clarification. So this will likely mean another meeting of the finance committee and select board, whether joint or separately, to make a recommendation on that request, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Anyone else? So Phil, let's get a motion from the finance
Okay.
committee.
Do we have a motion to approve the Great Barrington assessment for the Berkshire Hills Regional School District?
This is Ann. I'll make a motion. And do we approve it? I think we recommend.
Yes,
Yes, we recommend it.
I'll make a motion to recommend the fiscal year 23 Berkshire Hills Regional School District assessment to Great Barrington.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Ann,
I vote aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Michelle,
Abstain?
Meredith,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So it is approved.
do I have a motion from the select board?
I make a motion to make a recommendation of the FY 23 Berkshire Hills Regional School District School Assessment to town meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Garfield,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Ed,
Yes.
Lee,
Aye.
and I, it's unanimous. Sharon, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, next is the free cash discussion. And I'm not sure, Sue, are you going to try to lead us on this, or I don't want you to overtax yourself?
Thank you. Yeah, I more so will take questions if that Mark's gonna put up the slides, excuse me.
Right. I wonder if it's okay with Sue and Mark, I would just want to make just a couple of just introductory comments. I was able to speak with them about the pages, so and I just, it might just be helpful. And obviously it will allow, hopefully require Sue to speak less. Going through it very quickly. This first page is just a review of the revenue cycle that relates to our local receipts. And it's also, obviously that relates to the cannabis income. So the takeaway here is that, as has been discussed previously, there's a 2-year lag between the point when, generally speaking, between the point when those receipts are, those purchases are paid for by customers and the taxes are collected, versus when the town has the ability to use those funds in its budgetary process. The next page is another collection of numbers. I guess just again, as an overview, what I highlight is the box in the middle, which is the schedule of cannabis income received, both the local option tax as well as the community impact fee. And you could see that those monies started coming in very significant amounts beginning in fiscal 2020. And based upon our 2-year lag discussion, they really started having an impact, a more meaningful impact on our budgetary process beginning with fiscal 2022. And there's certainly a significant part of our budgetary discussion this year for 23. And when we page ahead. So this was an attempt to provide clarity on the discussion that we started at the end of our prior meeting. We'll see if that in fact is the case. On the left is a lot of dates, but again, what it's just hopefully going to do is just clarify the timing delay between the local option collections and when they're available for a budget process. So just looking at the bottom row, the local receipts collected in fiscal 2021, which are part of our free cash balance of $6,481,000, they are now available to us in this particular budget process that we're looking to conclude tonight. And you can see that of that $6,481,000, approximately, well, 4.1 million is proposed as being allocated to reduce the tax bill. So, the main takeaway of this page is really to hopefully clarify and provide a little more of a definitive answer to the frequently asked question as to when the cannabis revenues will actually arrive and improve or have a positive impact on the town's finances. So independent of our respective opinions as to our cannabis program here in town, as you can see, they both last year as well as for this particular budget that we're including on tonight, they've had a very meaningful impact on the finances. And again, scrolling over to the right, we have the available balance column, and that's the amount of free cash that was available for that year that has not been allocated to the uses on the page. Yes, I would stay there. As you can see, those available balances have increased considerably as those local option receipts have increased.
Michelle has her hand up, Phil.
Right.
I'm just a little taken aback. Is this PowerPoint from the town or from you, Phil?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's from the town, and I was speaking to save Sue some energy on her.
And
from
was
her.
this included in any packet?
No, this is prepared by the town.
No, I know that. You just said that, but was this provided? I downloaded the packet, but this
Yeah,
wasn't
no, it was not
included.
in the packet, and basically our schedule did not just permit us to include it in the packet.
That's unfortunate because it would have been great to been able to study it. I'm not really happy about this, not receiving it prior to the meeting. And I just want to go on the record with that. These are a lot of numbers and it takes time to study them now on the fly.
Sue, go ahead if you can.
She's muted.
No, she's okay.
Sorry. Michelle, that I really don't like to announce this at a public meeting. I've been sick for the past week and a half, so I was unable to get these out. I did these in anticipation of the meeting. And I needed till today to get them complete. I actually had got them mostly done by Friday, and we've been tweaking them over the weekend and yesterday, and I'm going to lose my voice. So please understand we couldn't get them in the packet.
Anne, you had your hand up?
I guess I want to say, I was under the understanding that we're doing this to try to educate ourselves about the free cash. I understand that this might be in anticipation of discussing whether or not to change what we had talked about in terms of free cash allocations. I'm sort of assuming it's not, but I guess I'll leave that. But I do think this is useful information, and I agree with Michelle that I think it would be great to come back to this and talk further about what is going on here. So I'm hoping this isn't the last time we talk about these numbers, but sort of the first time, because I do appreciate that we're starting to see some of the details here.
Yeah, there's no doubt the finance committee can put this on their next agenda. And I think this is mostly for education. Finance committee and the select board has a right to change the budget and use more free cash. I'm not advocating or speaking against it, but I think this really was a continuation of a discussion we had at our last joint meeting.
All right, thank you.
No, I mean, again, I'm certainly happy to discuss this further in any forum that's possible or in any forum that's appropriate. I'm just echoing Steve's comments. We touched upon these issues at the very end of our last budget meeting. And I think specifically, we just touched upon some issues relating to that available balance of 1.7 million on the bottom right-hand corner of that page. And so what we've been trying to do here in a relatively tight time frame is just to provide somewhat of some additional backup as to what that 1.7 million number implies and how free cash was allocated this year. I'm not speaking for myself, obviously, I don't have any proposals to make changes to this particular allocation. It's really about just trying to provide some additional information to help others understand it. And I respect Michelle's opinion that in a perfect world, this would have gone out earlier. I agree, but it just was not possible.
Eric, go right ahead.
Thank you. Seeing these numbers is very useful. And maybe I'm jumping ahead here a little bit with this question, but at the end of the last meeting, Steve, you had brought up that the 1.773 number is technically what, I'm probably going to get the term wrong, but what the CCC has designated us to use in a certain way, right? And that's what we're looking to kind of discuss. How to designate that. That's where this conversation's leading tonight, correct?
I'm not sure it's leading there, but you're absolutely correct. The CCC has one interpretation, DOR has another one.
Right.
And we're using DOR's interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
which is that money is free cash. It's not encumbered. But I will say this, and I respect Michelle's comments. And if this was going to be the end of the discussion, I would understand that this is just too short of a time frame, knowing Sue's condition, which no one knew, and I wasn't going to mention that she hasn't been feeling well. When I looked at these, the one thing that I did see is this is probably the clearest interpretation of free cash that I've seen in my 12 years here, and I think it's helpful that we continue to build on this. Sue's done some really good spreadsheets, but this is the best work yet, and I think building on this is where we should go, not just stopping and putting this in a drawer till next year. Michelle, go right ahead.
Yeah, and can we get a copy of this as soon as possible, please? Or can I get a copy? I won't.
No, we can all get a copy of it. Absolutely. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess I just want to go back to that comment about the CCC number. So it is, we've just been looking at this in a way, like we're set up as if we're doing it the DOR way, having it in free cash. But I guess what would the procedure be, or what would it take just to have it marked under CCC, right? Like, I think until there's more clarification, I would kind of like to see that number just marked and set in a fourth row, or however you would want to say it.
The problem with doing that, Eric, and we can do that, is that number of 1.7 would be the number.
Right.
And so we would have no free cash, and we would have to redo the budget because you can't leave the town without any free cash.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. So I guess if we're looking for opinions, I would say I would like to see, like, next year, that we have that marked out. And I'm always a fan of having more savings. So if we're putting in our 2 cents, I would like to see next cycle, if we can start the discussion earlier, I think it would be best for the town to have the CCC number marked and called for, and then an actual row for even more free cash. And then if I know we're waiting on the verdict between the DOR and the CCC, and if that changes things and it goes to the DOR rules, I think that would be all the better. So
that makes sense.
Okay.
Bill, go right ahead.
What I'd like to suggest is that this issue of the town's discretion over the 1.7 million be discussed further by the Finance Committee. Ed has made many comments in the past about the obligations with respect to that money that were made to the individual cannabis retailers in the host agreements. I took a look at one of them briefly, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to make any conclusive opinions, but we need to spend some more time, I would say, to go through those host agreements and understand the commitments the town has made with respect to the community impact fees, and how that may or may not differ from the full discretion we have over free cash. So just as an example, just looking at one host agreement for one retailer, the agreement is that those funds are used for many purposes that cover many aspects of our town budget and capital budget, but they probably are not the same as the town having full discretion over that money as it is full cash. So long story short, I think we need to do a little more research on a more precise understanding of the difference between the DOR assessment that it's free cash versus the cannabis authorities at the state and the host agreements and what those are saying, and maybe come back to the select board with our views on that.
Lee, go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank Steve for flagging this because had he not mentioned this in a previous meeting, we wouldn't be having this discussion. So thank you very much, Steve, for requesting for us to have a detailed discussion. This is incredibly helpful. I also want to thank Sue because I know this is an incredible amount of work that she did behind the scenes and anyone else that helped. So thank you very much, Sue. This is probably the biggest question I get from citizens is, where's the pot money going? So this is incredibly helpful. And I do think that this warrants more discussion and insight, but I do see this as educational at this point. And I do look forward to discussing this further.
Thanks, Lee. Ed?
Yeah, thank you. I guess I want to echo what Phil said, and I think Eric said a little more strongly, which is let's not call this money savings if it isn't savings, which is what it looks like we're doing, because it could bite us in the butt. The state has just given the CCC a little more authority to look at host agreements. And we do say in them, and just Phil, for your knowledge, this part of the agreements are identical in all of them, so you don't have to look them all up. But it does say we use this money for a certain purpose. So by leaving it in free cash, we need to know that free cash number, unless there's some ruling somewhere that the CCC has no legs, we're going to need that money for something else. Thanks.
Garfield? Garfield, I can't see you, but you are muted.
All right. I wanted to know what Lee was asking when she wanted to know where the money was going, or what was you said you hear that a lot. They're asking where the money is going.
Well, people ask us all the time, and I won't speak for Lee, what are you doing with the money that's taken in from the marijuana, the 3%, not part of the host community agreement, the other 3%. And right here is $4,100,000 says it's used to reduce taxes.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be, it's clear, which is something, we've not just seen on one piece of paper. We knew what it was. It's no one's hiding. It's been transparent, but here it's very clear.
People are aware that money, some of that money is, as in last year or this year, $350,000 was distributed throughout the community to folks that approach the committee with, we believe to be, I am part of that committee, be valid reasons for use of that money and to be effective. And the uses are really have to be for marijuana education. So they have to pretty much tie into how they would use that monies to further the education or uses or whatever needs to be done with marijuana, is keeping away from kids, percentages of who's using, who's not, those kind of things. But we have people that will come and ask for these funds, and upon their request and their needs and their relevancy to using the marijuana for education is how that money is distributed. So that $350,000 went to about 7 different entities that asked for monies, who the committee felt were using the money quite wisely.
Thank you, Garfield. Let's move to the next few pages. We're almost done with free cash. Bill, do you want to move us ahead?
Again, I think we've covered enough of it. I defer to Sue or Mark if they want to make any other points, but I think that one page that we just spent some time on was really by far the most helpful page.
And at Michelle's request, and a good request, this will be emailed to all board members and will be put on the town's website.
I'll get that out later this evening.
It can be tomorrow. It's been a long 2 days. Anyone else on free cash before we move ahead? Seeing no one's hand up. So let's start with the FY23 town operating budget. Just for people who are watching this, we have, as a select board and finance committee, I should say finance committee and select board actually, have gone through line by line and session by session of this budget and voted on each department. So my intention tonight is not to vote on each department. My intention would be that we would vote on the operating budget, which is tab 6 as a whole, with the changes that we made at our last meeting, knowing that someone could tonight make a motion to change it again, but if no one does, we can just vote on it as is. We've gone through it, we've revised it once. And so I'm willing to hear a motion from the finance committee and then discussion, or if someone wants to discuss some changes first, I'm also open to that.
Okay. So the first on the list is the operating budget.
Yeah,
as
that's where we
revised.
are now. We're gonna do the operating first, then we'll do the capital, and then we'll do special articles.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the operating budget and recommend it for the town meeting as revised?
Bill, this is Tom. I make a motion that we recommend the proposed fiscal 23 budget for approval of the town meeting as amended.
And is there a second?
Suzanne, I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote. Ann,
I vote aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Meredith,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
and I'm aye as well.
Select board, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the FY23 operating budget as amended to town meeting.
Second.
The motion is to recommend the operating budget to town meeting. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Garfield,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Ed,
Yes.
Lee,
Aye.
and I. It is unanimous. Next would be the FY23 town capital budget.
We have a motion to approve.
Stan, I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2023 capital budget. And that is also as amended, as revised, correct?
Correct. That's revised in the packet.
Yeah.
A second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yes, this is Anne. I just want to clarify the revision mainly was adding the DPW vehicles and equipment, correct? The truck and the roadside mower,
Yeah, that was not in our original packet.
right? So-
It was given to us verbally, but yeah.
Right, I
yes.
understand, but on the, yeah, printed, yeah. That was just the clarification.
And now it's been also updated to provide that the Memorial Field improvements are going to be fully borrowed. Is that correct?
Chris, you want to just clarify? It's through CPA funds, though, right, Chris?
Yes, this version clarifies that it'll be borrowed through the CPA. So it's accounted for in the borrow column. And then at the bottom, you'll see at the very bottom of the capital spreadsheet page, you'll see that it's listed as 500,000 from community preservation.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Ann,
Aye.
Tom,
Oh, I voted aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
and Meredith,
I make a motion to approve the FY23 capital budget as amended to town meeting.
Second.
So I have a motion by Lee, a second by Ed to recommend the capital budget as amended to town meeting. Any discussion? Roll call. Garfield,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Ed,
Yes.
Lee,
Aye.
and I vote aye. It's unanimous. And last, here is the FY23 special articles, which was tab 9, which were not amended as my notes say so.
Correct.
Okay, do we have should we do this as a group or individually, Steve?
I would do it as a group.
Okay.
That's-
Do we have a motion to approve the fiscal 2023 special articles?
This is Anne. I'll make a motion to recommend the fiscal year 2023 special articles.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote. Ann?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
And Meredith?
Aye.
And I'm aye as well.
Select board.
I make a motion to recommend the FY23 special articles to town meeting.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, roll call. Garfield,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Sorry, I saw you first. Ed,
Yes.
and I. It's unanimous for the special articles. Unless the finance committee or select board have anything else they'd like to bring up, I will go into citizen speak time. So I will just say that I'd like to thank the administration, Chris, Sue, Mark, the department heads for the budget process this year. It was incredibly easy to follow. It was logical, and we had some good discussion. And I thank you for bringing an organized presentation to us. I expect that every year, and I'm usually not disappointed. So
Well,
thank you.
kudos
Thank you
to
very much.
Thank you.
I know it's a lot of work that's done behind the scenes, and it all pays off at the end for nights like tonight. Thank you. Citizen speak time. Media time. Seeing no hands raised by unanimous consent, we are adjourned.
Right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.